Talking with Pat Cummings of Trakus, and Trakus Systems is here at Keeneland, one of the tracks that uses Trakus. And you guys have been doing some research to determine how it can be helpful to handicappers. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the data has been in place here at Keeneland in America longer than it has at any other track in America. And specifically, each race we're tracking how far each horse is running. So what we did was we surveyed the last 4 meets here, so dating back to the spring of 2010 up through last fall, to get a feeling for how much the average winner travels. So comparing winners to everybody else and trying to determine, is inside maybe a better place, we would typically expect to find that winners are going to cover less ground. It's not always the case, so we wanted to test Keeneland, and we actually compared it to Woodbine, because they're both on the polytrack surface, and found that Keeneland horses at 6 furlongs and a mile and a 16th actually do cover the shortest trip overall. And I thought it was pretty telling. Specifically in 6 furlong races, the average winner covers about a half length less than the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place finishers. So ground coverage really matters, and I thought that was pretty telling in a race like the Phoenix Stakes here this week, where some of the parts just went to the front, cleared over, stuck to the rail, and just kept going. And if you snuck away at the top of the stretch, it really mattered. So ground loss does matter. From a comparative standpoint, though, at Woodbine, for example, that polytrack course plays much more favorable across all lanes and maybe even favors horses that are covering more ground. So we looked at the data and really just tried to get a baseline for how much ground loss actually matters, and I think it matters pretty significantly here.
Is this something that over time, where a Beyer speed figure gives us an idea of being able to have a number that can transfer to track, that if more tracks get the Trakus system, you could find some really meaningful handicapping data in terms of, if this horse was outside at Woodbine and that's okay, but if he's drawn outside here at this track, he might be in trouble.
Yeah, I think that's right, Tom. It's going to matter more in the aggregate than it does on a more individual level. So with the Santa Anita installation we just finished, it's our 12th track in the world right now, but with more tracks, the data becomes more powerful, and I think that's something that we'll continue to see as more tracks come on board, and we certainly hope that happens sooner rather than later, but it will matter more.
Any other handicapping angles that you foresee coming out of use of Trakus?
Yeah, well, just like a lot of handicappers, what we'd call the sheets players, the Ragazins, the Thoroughgraphs, those guys have been tracking ground loss and applying it to races over time. And I think it's something we really saw in the Breeders' Futurity here, where Mark Casse trainee Dynamic Sky was kind of weaving a bit in the stretch, but the winner, Joha, just rode the rail the entire way. Well, Dynamic Sky went 77 feet more than Joha did. That's roughly 9 lengths of extra ground coverage and only lost by a length. So going forward, we'll say maybe a horse like Dynamic Sky is one that could move forward, having covered so much extra ground than a horse like Joha did.